Coordination set 2 is very similar to coordination set 1. Same pattern is there. First, let me show you just the pattern of coordination set 2. From the informal salutation, you'd step back, left outward block, left punch, right rear hand punch, kick punch, and punch. Then you would step forward and do the opposite side. Coordination set 3 is very similar. Let me show you the first pattern. Then you would repeat on the opposite side. And then you continue around the circle. So let's build that up. The first thing you do from the salutation is you step back with your left foot. You'll do the same left vertical outward block that you did before, but your right hand will do a downward block. Now this is considered a split universal. Universal blocks tend to go a standard one. The front hand is low, the rear hand is inward. Now if you did this in the reverse position, the rear hand low and front hand inward, that's considered an inverted universal. Universal, inverted universal. In this form we go outward with the top and down with the rear, and that's a inverted split universal because we're going in opposite directions. So the first move is just that outward block and downward. Then your hands are reversed. Downward with the left, outward with the right. So it goes 1, 2. Next time we'll pivot to the front. Right hand will fan and hammer inward. Left hand goes upward. And then right hand will go upward. Left hand goes inward with the hammer. So it has this upward block and hammering motion. Putting those together, we go 1, 2, pivot, 3, pivot back, 4. On 5, you pivot in with the inward block. Let's put that together. In fact, I'll do it from the side. Just about to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now the next move after the inward block, so I'm lined up for the front. It's going to be a punch with the left, kick with the right. Same as coordination set 1. In coordination set 1, I would have planted back with a punch. In this case, without planting down, it will be a rear back kick with a punch. Then I'll plant down. My right hand will go low for a downward check. As it goes low for the downward check, the left hand rises upward for an upward block. And that's the complete pattern. So you step back, 1, 2. So the hands are just doing this motion. Outward block and downward. Make sure it's not back here. It should be, if you're facing a person, it should be where it's shielding your groin from the front. So it's 1, and you switch. 2, pivot, 3, 4. Pivot in, inward block for 5, and kick punch, back kick punch, and down. Now that back kick should be, in fact the kick punch should go at least waist level, and then about waist level for the back kick. So again, hit the bend over as you stretch out to the rear and punch. Try to make a line with your punch and your back kick. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, kick punch, back kick punch, downward check with the right, upward block with the left. Now your hands are in position as you'll step forward and reverse. The right hand goes out, left hand goes down. 1, 2, same thing again. All you have to do is pivot forward, 3, 4, inward block, 5, 6, 7, left hand goes down. And then you just repeat the same process going around the clock. Now continue. One of the key things that's important is these pivots that go forward and back. So we start 1, 2, now when you do these fan blocks, pivot forward, 3, 4, pivot forward for the inner block, 5, kick punch, back kick, and down. Stepping forward, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And repeat on the opposite side. again, you step up, downward block, 2, 3, 4. The pivot is very important. And then you do a final time to the front. Then step up and salute. Now that's coordination set 2. And it's in about the right place. I always like to comment about where the forms, the different sets fall into the belts. This is a pretty good place for it in the green belt. Coordination set 2, again, it just works on a lot of duple, 2 and 3 motion, 3-sided motion simultaneous. So now we're using our limbs in a lot of different ways all at the same time. So it's very good coordination action. So try to work that up, and it should be helpful for you. Along form 2. Now this is where the Kempo forms start getting interesting. This is the last of what we call the basic forms. The basic forms are short 1, long 1, short 2, and long 2. And they're just comprised of basics in different degrees of difficulty, and it also increases the length of the form itself. When I'm reviewing people for black belt tests and brown belt tests as well, this tends to be the most difficult form for them to remember. The reason why is this form has about 200 moves to it, and there's nothing to hang on to other than your memory. And also a pattern that you've set up with short 1 and long and short 2, with the in, out, up, down pattern, and on short 2 you set up the floor pattern. But it's not symmetric. All of your forms so far have been symmetric. Your left side's the same as your right side. This one is not, and short 3 is not symmetric as well. They're interesting, but because of that reason, it tends to give people memory problems. So I'll try to help you through that. In long form 2, it'll be 20 sections total of the way we count it, and the first 10 sections is the same basic pattern that was set up for short 2. If you remember, short 1 set up a pattern, in, out, up, down, and did both sides. Then long 1 came along and followed up on that. After you did your inner block, you did a counter punch, and then it did the same pattern again on the opposite side, doing triple blocks. At the end of it, you got in a horse stance and did some special blocks without footwork. I told you we'll see those again, and in short and long 2, it'll follow up on how to use those type of blocks with some type of effectiveness or some type of application. So long 2 will finish up where short 2 left off, and we did block chop and block palm, those type of situations. So that'll be the first half. The second half, almost half, will be finishing up with long 1, where how do you use these type of blocks? And what is the what's some type of application from that? And then it'll finish up in a horse stance with some things that you need to think about that we'll follow up on for short 3 and long 3. So long form 2 is the last form that starts off an informal salutation. Traditionally, you'll see a lot of Kendo schools that still do they've added the formal salutation to it, but it actually starts with the informal salutation. And it'll start off, when you start this, I'll do the first 2 sections, where we step in, block, chop, palm, spear, block, chop, palm, spear. This form also has about 3 different versions I've seen out there done equally. So there's a lot of people that they'll keep the check here, and I've seen many different things, or they'll block, chop, palm, and they'll check here. I'm going to do the method that was done with Ed Parker's group before he died, and if your school or if your instructor puts a check here or there, it's really not a big deal. It doesn't affect the form, so make sure you pay attention to that. I'm just going to do it from the standard method. There can be some embellishments that you'll see. I've seen, like I said, on this one, many different ones, and I know 3 different versions of it. So we start off from this position, we step in, chain with the left, short 2 went block chop. This one does a circular block, inner block, circles down, chop, but it doesn't stay there. We pivot to a forward bow. It will chamber to the hip as a pivot, bill palm strike to the front. With forward bow, I'll pivot back, spear. So I'll do that again. Step in, block, chop, palm, spear. Other side. Block, chop, palm, spear. So that's section number 1. It finishes up where short 2, section 1 went block, chop, chop. So now we're adding to it. Block, chop, palm, spear, block, chop, palm, spear. So short 2 went from blocking and checking and striking. This one, for some reason, if it's the one arm version, if you can't use your left arm or choose not to, if you can't check, you'll use friction to pull his arm down and chop. So that's basically what that's showing you the difference of. So block, chop, we have block, chop. So you're using the arm to rake down to cause friction, which gives you more of a time delay, so you can get that the chop in. Let me get back in position for that, and we'll do section 2. Sorry, section 3. So here you pull back to your cat just like you did before. Now we go to a forward bow with the outward block and punch. Now, I'm going to pivot back to a neutral bow with the front hand punch. And we'll punch with our rear hand with no pivot. So notice it's just from the waist but not the feet. And we'll finish up with a vertical jab. My other hand's going to stay centralized around in my chest. At the same time, I do a low side kick and plant. I see some people do high front kicks and side kicks. It's really to the knee. It's a short jab, both sides. Other side, I go to my cat and chamber. Block and punch, it's 1. Notice I pivoted in. I pivot back. Rear hand punch, punch and jab. Notice my position. So I'm not chambered anywhere. This is a fighting position. I do my kick and plant. So my fist is around the solar plexus level. My other hand ended up about shoulder or chin level. We do that section again. From the spear hand, pull back and punch. 2, 3, 4. Block and punch, 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 and punch. So what this section is teaching you is you can punch with the rear hand with the pivot. You can punch with the front hand with the pivot. You can punch with the rear hand without a pivot. And if you punch with the front hand without a pivot, it's a jab. So if you need some power, you need to pivot. Here, no pivot off the front hand, it's a jab. And if you can jab with your hand, you can jab with your foot. It's just a low kick. This is the form that usually gives Kenpo a bad name for kicking. Because this is the first form that includes a kick. And so when a blue belt or green belt goes to a tournament, and usually their form's not as far along as a black belt, of course, they'll do this and they'll kick, and everybody say, "Oh, those Kenpo guys can't kick," because the Korean guys will be cocking way back and going way high with the kicks. That's just the way the form is. It's meant to kick low. We'll do the other side. Outward block and punch, punch, rear hand punch, double punch. In fact, you don't want to lean back when you do this. I want you to think of it as a jab with the front hand. The analogy has always been used as if you're standing on a rug and someone jerks it out. That's the motion that your foot would go. So it's like a controlled fall on the way, real short and fast. So you want to rock, but don't rock back on it. Section 5, from where your hands are, you'll shift your left foot back toward about 5:30, and you're in a pivot, and universal block to the 6 o'clock. Let me do this facing you. In fact, let me show you some of the problems that I see with this. 3 versions, I tell you, that I know of. Some people go all the way to 4:30. Ed Parker's group did 6 o'clock. I see others doing it to 7:30, and then doing, facing those angles. This next section is supposed to be 12 and 6. So that's what I'm going to teach you. If your instructor takes you off angle with it, it's really not that big of a deal. Actually, to me, this one makes a deal because it does change the angle. If you insert a hand or a check, that doesn't bother me. Now, I do see people go off angles with this one, and just stick with what your instructor has you to do. But if you're teaching it, I suggest you go with the 12 and 6. So I pivot to a neutral bow, universal block. From there I'll pivot into a forward bow. Right hand will hammer low, left hand will go high. You'll pivot back, claw down toward the face, back fist, back fist, back fist. I'll do that to you because that's the 12 o'clock position, and you'll see what I'm doing. Universal block will be high block and hammer fist, claw back fist. Now, some people emphasize this claw back fist, claw back fist. Others just go claw back fist, back fist, back fist. It's okay to emphasize the claw. What you're doing is you're checking his arm out, you back fist, check his arm, back fist, check his arm, back fist. So let's get into the triples. We'll be doing a lot of triple actions in this section. So putting that together, after the kick punch, I shift back, my hands stay basically where they're at. A lot of this form goes from point of origin. So I'll shift back, universal block, high block, inverted hammer, fall back fist, back fist, back fist, go to your cat, fall back fist, and back fist. Now, some little notes to compare if you like to look into details. On the short tube, when I step back and go, high block on both sides, high block and rake. If you look at it, we go to this high block position, we've got in, this is the inner block section, we go out, next point would be high, and after that would be low. We're still using that pattern. But before we do the high block, we go through this new block. It's inserting a new block, which is universal. And then if you look at short two again, it goes high. And you can imagine if there's a hill or a waterfall. This one's going with a high block. The rear hand is shooting over with this middle knuckle rake. Well, long two, as I go to this high block position after the universal, instead of going forward like short two does, it goes under. So it's really the same thing. So instead of going high block rake, it goes high block rake. That's why I have to pivot for it. So that's a little detail to pay attention to. Let me build that up from the top now. Block, chop, palm, spear. Block, chop, palm, spear. You pull back. Go to the forward bow, then pivot back. Forward bow, then come back. You shift your foot, notice your hands stay in position. Universal, pivot here, pivot back. Go to your cat. Universal, pivot in, pivot back. Now, so far, in long one, you'd step away as you do your downward block. In short two, we went to third cat. Now here we're stepping away again. So we'll just finish this left back fist. My attacker is coming from 430, just like short two. Short two would have went downward block, palm. What we're doing now is we're stepping away from 430, putting downward block. Then we're going to insert a corkscrew punch, rear hand punch, kick punch, and short focus punch. So you can see I'm still going through that downward block palm. So I'm going there by inserting some other things. That's where coordination set one comes from. Where you go, block, punch, punch, kick, punch, punch. That coordination pattern really causes a lot of people problems. So when they get to green belt, they're having a hard time to learn the form because they don't have the coordination of this cross-body action. So that was taught early, so now when you get to long form 2, it's pretty easy. So after we do this back fist, you'll step to 1030, pivot, downward block, and it's a corkscrew. A corkscrew punch, let's go over the four basic punches. Have a horizontal punch, have an inverted horizontal punch or uppercut, have a vertical punch, and an inverted vertical. Notice the elbows really high, the thumbs down. That's all corkscrew is. Imagine you're twisting the corkscrew. And it's coming from a low position. This tends to always be in the head, and it's hard to do a good one here. It tends to be a high punch. It shields your head from an attack over here, like someone throwing a hook. You're getting on the inside of it. So if you're like boxing, you'll see boxers they drop their head, and then their arms shielding them as they slip a punch underneath of a hook. So after this back fist, downward block, punch, pivot. It's just like out of a coordination set, kick punch. Now when you plant, this is a low, a vertical punch, a solar plexus level that goes out and snaps back to where your elbow touches your hip. So if I did it sideways, it'd be this way. So it shows focus, and you snap it back quickly. So section 5, downward block, corkscrew, rear hand punch, kick punch. And snap now we'll do it to 7:30, just like short 2. Step over. It's all in one action. I go through the cat, a step, downward block, corkscrew, punch, kick punch, vertical punch. Let me continue on from there. When we cross over, this is a smother block. So it's not an inner block, it's not a downward block, it's halfway. It's like you're shutting the window. It's a smother block. We use them for uppercuts. You smother down, just like raining claw. Cross over with that. And you'll see some people have a check kick here. Anytime you do a crossover, you can do a check. It wasn't emphasized with Ed Parker, but he did emphasize it in seminars, and people picked up on that. That anytime you cross, you can check. So I started seeing a certain group of people doing this form. They'd go check each time they do a crossover. In short 2, we would have went inner block, outer block, half fist. Now we're doing a throw. We're introducing the crossover. So we cross over with the smother. We step towards 130 with a, it's not an upper block, it's not an outer block. It's what we call an extended upper block or an extended out. It's like an extended outward. This extended upward is what it's termed as. It's a little bit higher than an extended outward. It's not as high as a upper block. It's not as outward as an outward block. It's like in a 45 going up. So 1, 2. Now from that position, instead of doing the half fist like we would have done a long 2, we're going to shoot over, instead of underneath, over the top of your wrist as you pivot. And it'll be a 2 finger right poke. While that one's out there, you cock your right hand back about in front of your chest. Then you do 2 more. So from your snap punch, you go 1, 2, eye poke, eye poke, eye poke. Then we'll do it toward 10:30 with a smother, slip in, 1 notice it goes over top of the wrist, and 2, 3. Now that finishes up the first half, which was the extensions of short 2. So let me do all of the form up to that point. Section 1, block, chop, palm, spear. Block, chop, palm, spear. Section 3, block, punch, 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 kick punch, block, punch, 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 kick punch. Universal blocks for section 5, both sides. 6, 7, power block, punch, kick punch, and make sure you snap that. 8, 9, 10. Section 11. Now, this is where we're going to start dealing with those type of blocks out of long 1. But if I just did a front crossover, now you'll do just the opposite. You're going to do a rear crossover. And the first block, since my hand is cocked, will be an inner downward block, palm up. Okay? So when you do long 1, you'd step in with palm down. And after you do 3 of those, you cock your hand and you do the palm ups. Well, you had to do the palm down because you're coming from a chambered position and we're not cocking. Here, your hand is high, it's cocked. So when you do rear cross, your hand executes an inner downward block, palm up. From there, we're going to pivot in place, vertical punch, and snap it back. So from here, snaps. Then you do it on the opposite side. Your hand's cocked, rear cross and block, and you snap it. So out, snaps back. So let me take it from this eye poke, the rear cross. This is section 11, snap, 12, snap. So that's done on the 45. Okay, section 13. I'll step back away from 130. Now if I just did the palm up, I'm going to have to do the palm down. So I'll step back, inner downward block, palm down. So that's as far as it goes. Your hand will cock and the vertical snap punch. On the opposite side, block, just pivot from the elbow, that lines your fist up, and you'll punch it. Sort of like an uppercut, that's really the back fist. It's like this action. It comes from here and you're snapping the back fist. Some people teach it as an uppercut, but it's actually, if I can give you an idea of how the travel of the fist is, instead of punching up, it's going forward and hitting the target with the knuckles. So it's going from here, cock it, snap. Just like we would have done in thrusting wedge, or in this belt, it won't be thrusting wedge, but it will be can't think of the name of it at this point, but heavenly ascent. That's correct, yes. Where you do the elbow, instead of doing a heel palm claw like thrusting wedge, you'll do the back fist, and it'll be down onto it. So, let me build that up from the very top. Block, chop, palm, spear. This is section 1, section 2, section 3, section 4, section 5, section 6, section 7, section 8, section 9, section 10, section 11. Let's start slowing down here since it's new. 12, 13, 14. All I do on 14 is I'll step away, and as I do, let my arms swing out a little bit so I can do an inner downward block, palm in, line your fist, and back fist. So from your vertical punch on section 12, you step back, block, back fist, step back, block, line it up, back fist. Section 15, pivot to a forward bubble. Left push down block has to come from face down. Push down block, twist in place. Step forward. It's outward elbow and claw. I'm going to do this 3 times. So pivot and push down. It's 1, twist, step in. Pivot to a forward block. 2 is a push, twist, step forward, elbow claw. 3, push, twist, step forward, elbow claw. When you practice it, take your time with it at first, because eventually you want to do it smoothly in one action, and it would look like this. But what I tend to see is this. And you can see I'm not pivoting or anything like that. So take your time to pivot. So after you've done your back fist, you push, twist, step through. Push, twist, step through. Push, twist, step through. Now it's 15, 16, that's section 17 we just finished. And what that teaches you, and I told you earlier when we did, I believe it was long 1, when we introduced step through punches, there's 3 ways you can step with your punches. You can step and turn at the same time. You can turn first and then step, which is what we just did. Or we can step and then turn. Now this form does all 3 of them. If you watched how we did, let's just back up a little bit. If I step and then turn, that's what we did there. The next section, we step back, we step and turn at the same time. We're doing reverse step throughs. Okay, but we're stepping and turning simultaneously. Before that, we did the step and then turn or pivot. And in this case, we're going to pivot and then step. Pivot and then step. And so that's called a twist through. And it's the only time it's done in the forms where we twist and then step. So that gives you an example of the 3 types of step throughs. This form introduces a lot of things. We introduce front crossovers, rear crossovers. It has all 3 types of steps. You'll find that in long form, they'll introduce shuffles. There's different types of shuffles and jumps. So, section 15. Section 15. Notice that it's asymmetric. I did it 3 times to this angle, which is strange because we just did it 2 times for the other block. We did block back fist or block punch. This time it's 3. There's a reason why. But we'll cover that in a second. I'm going to punch now for section 18. And if I do a rear thrust punch with a pivot, I can do, this is long range. Think now of short range thrust with the front. And a lot of people think it's an inner block. I'll do it toward the camera. This is a thrust with the rear. This is a thrust with the front. I'm thrusting with my forearm this way. So if I'm stepping in, hitting someone with the forearm, it's not blocking, it's not sweeping. It's going straight from the pivot. Okay, so make sure you know the distinction. That's section 18 from the claw, rear hand. This is a forward mode. This is a neutral mode. Notice I'm in a 45. Step back for section 19. Left hand will check down, right hand circles up, and right elbow down. Both sides. Rear cross, elbow down. And then it finishes up with another discrepancy that a lot of people have problems with. Let me go back over this while we're doing 3. If I start off in, say, right on this spot, on the form, and then I step in, do the form. Notice that if my right foot's the starting point, you start off, you're on the left side of the form to start with. And this will be my reference. When I get over to where I'm doing the back fist, I'm 2 steps away from that point. So if I go 1, twist, 2, that's my first step, 1, twist, 2. Well, if I finish there, if I say I'm doing a salute, I won't finish back on the spot I started at. And the forms are designed to do that. There's a problem with this for some reason. I've learned, like I said, 3 different versions on it. One of the versions finishes exactly where you finish. All the other versions, including what Ed Parker was doing right before he died, he finishes off center. So that's what I'm going to teach it to you. But if you do it for a tournament and there's a judge that's not a Kenpo judge, they'll grade you off because you didn't finish up where you started. So I'll show you how to fix that. And this is the original way I learned it, by the way, how to finish where you start. Let me go back to the push down blocks and we'll finish the form. So for section 15, we push, twist, up through double claw, push, twist, double claw. Section 17, 18 does our thrusts, 19 steps back with the elbow, step back with the elbow, and make sure you do put in your checks. The main thing is the elbow. And then section 20, the way that they're currently do is you step back with the elbow in, slip your arms, elbows out, tuck your left elbow, right elbow back, left elbow forward, salute, and you're finished. Notice I'm off angle, 1 step over and 1 step back. But to be where I started, it would be 1 step over this way. And that's the way Ed Parker was teaching it before he died. However, if you have to finish it, and finish where you started, see, now here's why we have 3 of those. I have to have a 3rd one to get past that point. All the sections so far started off this way from the horse stance. I did 1 step to the front. I'm working on an 8, front, back, side, side, and then crisscross. So we've stepped 1 forward past there. We've had our step to the left and right. We've had it to the rear. So that did my front, back, side, side, where I've stepped, if I'm standing on this front point, 1 of the directions. When we did the, let me just talk you through it. When we go off angle, that's my first step, off angle that way, and opposite side first step, off angle this way. Did a crossover, or 1 step beyond this point for the eye pokes. Here, put you a step beyond with the eye pokes. And so now we've covered everything. What happens when you do those three? It makes you, I need to actually walk it through so you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. Because I don't want to confuse you. So that was stepping beyond our start points to both sides. To 6 o'clock. And we've already done 12 o'clock. This will put you one step past the center point to 4:30, 7:30. Notice I haven't crossed that point. Okay, that's what I want to point out. Whereas these take you beyond those points. So when I did that crossover, it just brought me back up to where I started at. Okay, I should be here if I finish one step beyond our asterisk or crisscross. So when you do it from the push downs, if I just did 2, it puts me back there again. You do a third one, and then you finish up. Now to finish up section 18, section 19. Now, normally we'll be stepping back. That's what you'll see me teach you to today. But if you want to finish where you started, let me get to that point. You'd step up in a horse, square off, and close. And now you finish exactly where you start. If you don't do that, you finish up one step over and one step back from where you started. So again, that's the way Ed Parker was teaching it. It's even in his books that he was doing. That's why I want to teach it to you. I practice it both ways because doing the tournaments and things, I like to finish up where I start. And I get that question all the time. How come we don't finish where we start? So they think that their stances are wrong. Now if you practice it both ways, and I suggest practicing it a few times in the beginning where you step up, do your elbows, you should finish up where you started. If you don't, on this version, then you did something wrong with your stances. See that, and that's why, one of the reasons why we always do finish where we start. It's a gauge for you to determine, did you do your form correctly? If you were off now, like by stepping up at the end, and you're still off somewhere, when you step off, I would say, somewhere along the line I messed up my stances. So it gives you something to think about. So now, if you do it the other version where we're stepping back and you square off, you should be aware that you're one step over and one step back from where you started. It's a question that comes up a lot. And so I teach it the way it was done by Ed Parker at the end. But it is a problem. Most Kempo guys are still teaching it Ed Parker's way in that case. I've seen one group that doesn't. Also, the elbows. It's an inward elbow strike. This one's a sandwich. You slip. Notice I'm in a horse stance when I do this. So after we're doing these elbows at the end, section 18 and 19. So from the forearm strike, section 18, section 19. I'm going to square up here so I can be in the center of the camera. We're in a horse stance, elbow, double outward elbow. Now, I've seen some people where they go elbow, elbow. So Ed Parker was teaching it this way. Left elbow forward, right elbow backwards, and close. The reason why he said that is because every action has its opposite and its reverse. In this case, my right is the opposite of my left. My left's going forward, so the reverse is backwards. So you've done everything on both sides. And that's what he considered. When you do this, he considers this redundant. And he wanted the person now to think, okay, when I get to short 3, there's a lot of things to look for. When you get in a horse stance and do an isolation, remember I told you that's food for thought. We're doing all elbows here. Notice I go through the outward part, I drop my elbow to a vertical position to the front and back, and then I'll slide. So I don't go from here and go like that, but bring it to the vertical, elbow forward and back, and you'll sit close. So you're in a horse, you're doing your elbows. So what does that mean? in our next form, we're going to do a lot of elbows. And short three is known for, some people call it the elbow set because it uses a whole lot of elbows. It also uses marriage of gravity, and we're using quite a bit of that when we drop down. We use our body to drop into these elbows. So that's what short three is about. It's a short range form, uses elbows. It's nicknamed the elbow set or marriage of gravity. Let me do the whole form now. Excuse me. The whole form with the ending the way Ed Parker finished. So it's a short two, long two. Section one. I'm doing this at a moderate pace. Normally you want to do a little faster, keeping focus. There's something I want to emphasize here too in the second two. And that is here. Go through your cats. But you do it smoothly, so some people think you're cheating, but you're not. So you just do it smoothly. So you do go through a cat there. Section 11, section 12, 13, 14 and 15. I'm miscounting from the very end now. You square and close. That's long form number 2. So it's a good form, it's long, throws off a lot of black belts. Just build it up, take it section by section, and now you'll be getting more prepared for short three, which is all about, and it's all self-defense techniques. And this one especially centers in on elbows. Short form 3 is the first form that uses the formal salutation. There's 3 parts to it. The first part is what we call the signature. The signature says what form we're going to do on what side. If I was doing, we use for an example long 1. Of course we don't use the formal salutation on long 1, but the signature would be this. Open up my right hand, put one long finger across the palm. If I'm doing it on both sides, I'll repeat on both sides. That says I'm going to do long 1 on the right side and on the left side. Most forms are done on both sides. Short 3 is one-sided. In fact, it's the only form that's one-sided. We don't do the opposite side. So you would show, instead of not 3 long fingers, but this is hard for most people. You'll do like a half fist and pull in your little finger. So you use your thumb to hold it back. And you lay that across your palm. And you just turn your palm from the seam of your pants, if you can do that. Some people have a hard time from the shoulder or elbow to do this. But you go here. And you bring your 3 short fingers across and say, I'm going to do short 3 on the right side. If you did this, it means you're doing both sides. And I see that a lot of times with a lot of people doing their salutation, but they don't do it on the right side. So they don't understand what they're doing when it comes down to the signature part. This is I'm doing short 3 on the right side. Now the formal salutation then proceeds with 2 steps. And those steps are open twist, go to a cat, and then retreat. As you go to your open twist, your right hand comes forward with a fist. As you settle into your stance, left hand comes over to meet it. It goes to the front, left hand, as you're stepping forward, they touch together and go forward to show your fist and empty hand. Now retreat with hands back to back. You pull as you roll in and back. This is tricky to a lot of people, and that's why we don't use it for short 1, because the salutation is harder than the formal. So the formal salutation is step with an open twist, right hand goes forward, left hand follows, step down forward, retreat. That has a meaning. It goes back to the Boxer Rebellion or before in China, where the rebels were trying to regain China from the Manchurians, and they're trying to establish it the way it used to be in the good old days of the Ming Dynasty. And what they're saying is, we the warrior and the scholar, so this is the warrior and the scholar, we the warrior and the scholar come together to go forth into battle, to fight back to back, to pull the country together again. Now the third section will step off in a horse, open hand. We have no weapons, that's above your head, but conceal our secret. It's about chin level. And pray for forgiveness if we're forced to use it. That's chest level. And you step back to where you start. That puts you back in your central point, that's where the form will start. Again, that meaning goes, we the warrior and the scholar come together to go forth into battle. Notice I'm not covering my fist up. I see a lot of people do that, but here it said, we're the warrior and the scholar. You're supposed to show them what you got. Fighting back to back to pull the country together again. We have no weapons, but conceal our secret. Now you can see I'm concealing my fist. And pray for forgiveness if we're forced to use it. And then back to your starting position. So to start short 3, I would go. I'm doing short 3 on the right side. That's the one action. So you go from here, let your hands go through those positions. They just flow. You have to work on that. Okay, so that's the salutation. You need to really work on that alone as a form in itself, because a form will start with this part and it'll also finish with that part. And if it looks bad on either the front or the back, that's what someone remembers the most. If you're seeing a demonstration and the first thing you do is messy, then you're prejudiced throughout the rest of the demonstration that that person's not good. If you're a judge or a person watching the demonstration, the last thing you see is a horrible salutation. That's the last image that you have in your mind. That, oh, he's, the last thing you saw is he was horrible. So you've got to make the salutation look good. So let's do it again and we'll start. Again, it's all short range grabs. So short 3 is about short range grabs. And you're going to use your elbows a lot. So that gives you a clue. Long 3 is about long range grabs. So you'll see how that goes. Short 3. I'm going to do the complete form first, then I'll break it down. And it puts you back where you start. Excuse me. So for short 3, after your salutation, the first technique is both the first technique in short 3 and long 3, so make sure you know that well too. Destructive twins. Okay, so when you do it, you're stepping. I'm not teaching the technique because you should already know that. If I'm teaching the angle or any changes that you need to know during the technique. For your attention stands, destructive twins. Make sure you slide off as you're supposed to. You'll be squared off facing 1030. From here, your hands will drop down. Some people square off backwards. I will go through a cat. I will stop through a cat, and both hands go up, and you square off to a horse. This is for serpent crashing wings. And you do crashing wings. So now you should be in a forward bow facing 730. Now we're going to do twirling wings. And we're going to do the opposite side. If I was doing twirling wings, I would step back and do the elbows. Now here we're going to do the opposite side. Let me set up the angles of the attackers too. So destructive twins is from 12 o'clock. Circling up, crashing wings is from 6 o'clock. So I have to square off 212 and do crashing wings. Now the attacker is coming from 3 o'clock. So we're doing the opposite side. So pull up your cap. This is a reverse cap. Pivot, outward block and inward elbow strike. We're not going to just pivot back with an elbow. We're going to step forward to a forward bow. So that's the first 3 techniques. So start off destructive twins, crashing wings, twirling wings. Next is circling wing. The attacker is at 7:30 choking me just in the same angle I'm facing. So do circling wing out of purple belt. Ed Parker made a big deal about this elbow going up. It's like wiping your hair, hammering back. He wanted you to really follow through with an elbow. He always made a big deal about wiping his hair. So make sure you do that. Elbow up, pivot, hammer, and check. Rotate's checking about shoulder level. There's 13 techniques so far, so we're 1/3 of the way. Destructive twins, crashing wings, twirling wings, circling wings. Notice that everything comes from point of origin. Pin. Now we're going to do something here that's different. Long tree does crossing talon as well. Crossing talon, you come up, grab, and hammer the elbow and pull them over. We call that the striking version. It's the long range version. Short tree doesn't do that. It pins. And you use your other hand to assist coming up. You're going to grab and you're forcing his arm down with your own elbow. Then we finish up the same way. This is what we call the fulcrum method. Anytime we deal with a grab or joint lock, we can get out of the grab by striking, or we can set a pin to their hand and set up a fulcrum. I really suggest you experiment with this with a partner. Let them grab you cross arm, just like crossing talon. Pin his hand tightly. Bring your hand up underneath, grab his wrist, and see the reaction you'll get. It's very painful. So let's get back into position after the hammer fist. Pivot to a neutral bow facing 7:30. Left hand pins the right. Circle, step into 7:30, and your arms should be like cradling the baby. It should be vertical. Left arm goes up, right arm goes down. Cock your left elbow, elbow out, elbow down. Notice that we're using that marriage of gravity. Very important, because the next move, the scraping hoof. So the elbow down, and the elbow scraping hoof brings you back up. We're at the halfway point already. So short 3, destructive twins, crashing wings, twirling wings, circling wing, crossing talon, scraping hoof just to the right side only. So you pivot your back, side kick, and scrape. I'm squared off facing 10:30. The next technique is fatal cross, and this is the technique that is out of place. In short 3, we're teaching it in green belt, but this technique is not taught until second brown. It's for a low 2-hand push. If you remember in purple belt, you'd step back and do hooking wings. Here we're stepping forward, the same hooking action from hooking wings. So you make your crane hooks and pull, go through your cat stance, and then you'll plant. And you'll see different versions of using middle knuckle fists or even half fists to your opponent. I always use middle knuckle fists because that's the way I was taught. And you'll see different fist positions. Don't let that bother you. It's just a different strike. So after scraping hoof, let's see, we should be in elbow. Our hands are down. Circle. Make a circle from the elbows as you go through the cat. Step on in. Make your fists and cross back and have your wrists glued together. Okay, they're pivoting like a pair of scissors. Strike forward with back fist. So it makes like a pair of scissors going forward with the back fist. Square off, 2-finger right hook. Yeah. So let's take it from crossing the talon, scraping both. This is fatal cross. The next action goes from here. I step forward to 10:30. My hands make a big heart shape in front of me, or a big open circle. So drop to a close kneel, double hammer fist, and we're doing grip of death on the opposite side. So this is the second one. We have two techniques we do on the opposite side. So we do grip of death. The attacker is right there next to us over at 7:30. Heel palm strike. Okay. So far, it's not too bad. We're getting ready to set up a pattern where we're going to stay on this angle quite a bit. If you remember in long 2, it was asymmetric. I stayed on this angle quite a bit. So back to fatal cross, grip of death. This is the tricky part coming up. The attacker is at 7:30 and I'm supposed to be in the hammerlock. So if someone takes my arm and twists it, it's going to turn me around to face 7:30. That's what we're going to simulate. So I pivot, and my arm's going to be right in front of my body. My right arm goes behind me. If you look at me, I look like this. Left arm in front, right arm behind. That's going to be important to notice because we're going to do just the opposite in a few minutes. So, pivot. I'm not going to stay here, but I'm going to show you that. I'm squared off now facing 10:30. I'm going to do my counter grab, then I'm going to do locked wing. One hand. This one's still locked. See, a lot of people do two hands. You don't do that. This one's locked. Knee and heel palm strike. Both hands go behind you. Okay. So, back from fatal cross. Grip of death. Like I told you, I'm not going to stop from that point. I'm going to go right through it. But do hit all those points. Those are like, landmarks to go through. So you go from here. This is your first landmark. This is your second landmark. Now the technique begins. You do it precisely as you should. When you do it all in one action, it looks like this. So notice that in the heel palm strike, I pivot, I let my heels even touch, and then continue on. Yeah, now I'm going to do cross twigs. Remember I told you you're going to see those arms crossed again? Cross twigs. Right before I do my elbow, my left arm's now behind me willingly. I put myself in the hammerlock. Because before I'm forced to be in the hammerlock. Now I'm willingly to put myself in the hammerlock and elbow so that way I gain the advantage. Now I'll do the downward heel palm with the right and the left and the knee. So that's two heel palm strikes. And I'll square off facing 130. Then we do those two techniques because this introduces the idea of partners. They're throughout this whole form, but there's pairing of ideas on how if you do something to the front, you should do it to the back. And if you do it willingly, you should, or unwillingly, you should be able to do it willingly. And there's a lot of play of ideas that will continue on through your analysis of forms as you learn. So, locked wing, one hand, one knee. Cross twigs, I'm second to 10:30. Again, if you're doing the techniques right, you'll be hitting the correct stances. This is using marriage of gravity. This is reverse marriage of gravity. You square off to face 130. Now, we're going to do wings of silk. And there's nothing different about it than you've learned. Wings of silk is wings of silk or out of blue belt. So we're still facing 130. Finally, we're going to do conquering shield, facing 130, a pin, kick and lock, circle, elbow down, elbow up, and claw. So let's do 130 to finish off the form. We'll step back for striking serpent's head with a strike behind the head. Instead of chambering here, we're actually going to sandwich it. Grab his hair, pull back, follow the face, and pivot to a forward bow as we half this to the throat. Square off. That closes the form, and after you close, you do your closing salutation. And that's short 3. So let me do that again, short 3, with the salutation, and I'll do that again without interruption. And this will be about a moderate pace. You can do it faster. Normally, when this one's done, it's less than 20 seconds. You know, when you really do it, I'll give you an idea. The first couple of techniques, if you go about this pace is a good, testing pace. You can still go even faster, but at that pace, you should do it in 20 seconds. It's not a long form at all, and that's why in tournaments people do it on both sides, but it never was a two-sided form to start with. So with the salutation, signature, and your salutation. Short 3 on the right side. I'll call out the names. That was destructive twins, crashing wings, twirling wings, circling wing, crossing talon, scraping hoof, fatal cross, grip of death, locked wing, cross twigs, wings of silk, conquering shield, striking serpent's head. And that's short 3. It's not too difficult. Just keep track of your angles, and you'll do fine. Let me do it one more time. Each technique telling you which angle you'll be facing for the technique. So after the salutation, 12 o'clock is the attacker for destructive twins. 6 o'clock is the attacker for circling wing. 3 o'clock is the attacker for twirling wings. 7:30 is the attacker for circling wing, and also for crossing talon. Scraping hoof, the attacker is actually behind me at 4:30, and fatal cross he's at 10:30. At 1:30, grip of death. 7:30, the attacker for locked wing. Also, I'm sorry, 4:30 for cross twigs. Now he's at 7:30 for wings of silk. He's at 1:30 for conquering shield, and also for striking serpent's head. I'm just going to pivot in for that. And just do your salutation. So that's short 3. It's a good form. It's a lot of fun. It gives you an idea of what's coming up. This is where Kendo takes off. I like the short 3 form and all the forms hereafter because you already know the moves. They're techniques that you've already learned. It's just now knowing which angle you're going to do them with it. And if there's a transition, you'll find that like in long 3 in your next belt, it's a lot longer. And it's, but they're all very effective techniques. And it's real nice. It puts a system. Ed Parker said, if you know the forms, you know Kendo. So the whole system is contained within the forms. And these forms are just examples of self-defense techniques. Excuse me. The self-defense techniques are examples of what you can do in the forms. You can be creative and make up a lot of other self-defense situations from the moves you already know. That's short 3.